Welcome to episode 391 of the show. Today's question is a follow up from the Evolve Africa Instagram Live session. And one of the questions that we tackled then was how to compete with big brands in terms of pricing. Now, this is something that we're not unfamiliar with, those of us in the wedding and the event space, because people always want to know whether looking upwards or downwards, how to compete with the big brands. Now, in other businesses, sometimes it might be a matter of reviewing your prices downwards. Like, for instance, if you're into fast moving consumer goods. Yeah, I think that's what they're called, fast moving consumer goods, like cereal, soap, detergent, things like that. And you're coming in at the boutique range, then obviously the larger players like Nestle and Johnson and Johnson's and the rest of them might have lower prices, and because of that, they're able to capture more market share. And you're wondering, how can I match my pricing? How can I reduce it downwards? Although in the wedding and the event space, sometimes it's more about reviewing upwards, because you're coming into the market, you're a wedding photographer, you're charging 150, 250K, and you're looking at the big boys and girls, and you're wondering, can I take them on and increase my prices to 800K, 1.2M, and however much it is that the big boys and the big girls charge. So whether you're looking at things from a top-down perspective or bottom-up, whether you are in the wedding space or whether you are in the fast-moving consumer goods space, there's always that question on whether you can compete with the big boys and whether you can compete with the big girls. Can you match their pricing? Can you scale up? Can you scale down? Now, I didn't go into the meat of the question per se, but rather I posed some questions on whether you can match the advertising costs to become a household name in the first place. Because the truth is that the big boys and the big girls in your space, so if you're in the fast-moving consumer goods business, Johnson and Johnson's, Unilever, Nestle, NASCO, NASCO, they're the ones that make NASCO biscuits, NASCO cornflakes. Let's see, what else? Peak. I think Peak is made by Unilever, is it? I can't remember anyway. But bottom line is, these people have been there for a very long time. They have huge advertising budgets, and they have been spending millions of naira in advertising over the course of decades for a very long time. So if you're coming into this space, boutique, because obviously everybody's going to come in boutique, you're going to start making it in your house, in your bathroom, whatever, and then from there you move to a small factory at the back of the house before you get a bigger space, and then on and on. So really, do you have that much money to match them in advertising costs? Because they were able to get to where they were because of this huge advertising outlay that they have done over time. And do you have that kind of money to take them head on? That's something you should ask yourself. Another thing to consider is that market incumbents usually, apart from advertising costs, usually have established relationships with stakeholders and customers, entrenched relationships over a long time. So Unilever, Nestle, all these brands, they've been building relationships with us for a very long time. I mean, I've been using Close-Up toothpaste since I was a kid. Yes, I know that Close-Up toothpaste is not the coolest thing, but that's what I use anyway. So Close-Up, I think Close-Up is a Unilever brand. So Unilever has been here for a very long time, entrenched relationships with distributors and customers. And do you really think you're going to come and upset them overnight or in just 1 year? It's something to have a serious think about, whether you can match the advertising costs and the cost and the time that is required to build all these relationships. And it's the same thing when you look at the wedding and the event space. If you look at the big boy or the big girl in your space, you will find that they have been in this gig for a very long time. They have spent a lot in advertising costs as well, whether it's going to bridal shows or advertising on Instagram. Sometimes these people haven't spent much in terms of advertising, but they have paid their dues and they have paid the cost because they were early into the social media game, whether it's Bella Niger or Instagram or Flickr. Yeah, Flickr was one that we used to use back in the day. So they've been there, they've been grinding out, they've been posting, they've been trying to optimize their engagement and visibility and then stuff like that. So time and money has been spent. So you the newbie photographer coming into the game right now, or the newbie wedding planner, can you really match the time and money that they have spent in building relationships and in advertising and in promotion? Do you think you can outspend them or out push them now? Just consider, is that realistic? So let's say you have a very rich uncle or auntie and they're willing to support you whatever it costs, then yeah, it is possible. You can come in, especially if you're highly talented, and then you now just blast out with your Facebook, your what's it called, Instagram sponsored posts, Facebook advertising, things like that. You absolutely can do that, and that's part of the strategy that people in the startup space in North America do. You have your idea, you raise it, ton load of money, and that's the whole point of raising all that money, so you can hire staff, get buildings, promote, advertise, to get all the traction in 2-3 years that other people would have taken maybe 10 or 20 years. 10 or 20 years to build. And that's precisely the reason why companies like Facebook and Google and the rest of them in this new digital economy can quickly outpace and outgrow companies like IBM and the others that have been in this space for a very long time. It's precisely because they were able to go out, raise a shit ton of money, and then move quickly. So, if you have really deep pockets, then yes, you can compete with anybody, assuming that the fundamentals are solid. Assuming that you're a good wedding photographer, you're a good planner. If you are crap at planning and you raise all this money, you're just going to waste your money. Because if you're crap at wedding planning, or if you're crap at wedding photography, and then you throw 5 million into advertising costs, then yes, you're going to get lots of business, but then people will get there and be like, this guy Kunle, he's a fraudster, he's crap. Oh, Kemi, she's rubbish. And then they'll leave. And you find that you've wasted your 5M or 10M or however much you pumped into advertising, because you're trying to compete with the big boys and the big girls. So in my own opinion, I think that's the first question to ask. The big boy, the big girl, the entrenched players, the reason why they are there is because of money that they have spent over time in advertising. Money and time and relational capital, relational outlay that they have built with, establishing relationships with stakeholders, like in the fast-moving consumer goods space. They've been building relationships with distributors, things like that. Time and money has gone into it. Do you have that time? Well, obviously not. And then do you have that money to try and force things through? That's what you should ask. But if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that your fundamentals are tight. So, like I said, Close-Up is in the market, Close-Up toothpaste, and then the other brands. If you're going to come out with a new brand, like, Dabur is no longer new. That's a, what are they called? It's one of these natural kind of herbal toothpaste. So they've been around for a while, maybe like 10 years or so. So like when Dabur was coming out on the block, these are the kind of questions that they had to ask themselves. These people are entrenched. How much money do we have? What's our goal? What's the time frame? Do we really think we can do this? And you ask yourself these questions before you begin. And so in the wedding space, it's going to be the same as well. I'm a correct wedding photographer. I want to come and I want to blast into the market, and I want to tackle the big boys. I want to start charging 1.2 million from the get. Okay, but you need to consider, how much money do you have? How much are you going to be able to throw into advertising? And are you going to be able to build relationships with all these people? Other wedding vendors. So you're a photographer, wedding planners, what else? Wedding halls, what else? Bridal shows. Are you going to be able to build those relationships, and are you going to be able to outmarket these people, attention them, let me put it that way, get more attention than they are? So these are the questions that you have to ask before you consider whether you're going to compete with the big boys and the big girls when it comes to pricing, whether you raise it up or whether you drop it down. But another significant question that I would want us to look at is if we have the capacity to fulfill on our product or service on that scale. So the big boy photographer, the big girl photographer, the big boy wedding planner, the big girl wedding planner has been doing this for a while, and so they have enhanced capacity. The big boy wedding photographer is there and he's the top dog, but he has like 10 or 15 people under him. And so even if they get inquiries for 400 weddings in a year, between the 16 of them, they'll be able to rough it and they can make it happen. And they're not going to waste money on advertising. And it's the same thing with the wedding planner. They have staff, they have resources, they have other stakeholders and partners that they can call on to say, oh, you know what, we're booked. Help us out on this, and your own profit share is this, and blah blah blah. They can work things through. So the big boys and the big girls have enhanced capacity. If you're coming into this thing new, chances are it's just you and your boys. So you're coming in as a wedding photographer. You want to compete with the big boys and the big girls. But the thing is, it's just you and your brother, or maybe you and your boys, 5 or 6 of you. So even if you have that 5M that you're going to throw into Google Ads, Instagram sponsored posts, and then things like that, and you get lots of inquiries, you're getting like 20 inquiries in a month. Do you have the capacity to fulfill? Are you guys skilled enough to be on the phone, to man the phones, to make sure that you convert? Because if 20 people are calling you every month but you're only capturing one sale, then you guys are being highly inefficient about the whole thing, and you're just wasting loads of money, even though you have 20 people calling you every month, 40 people calling you every month. So do you guys have the capacity to fulfill? Do you have enough people to man the phones if everything goes well and all the leads start flowing in and all the inquiries start coming in? Do you have the capacity to fulfill? Are you guys going to be able to man the phones? If you collect the money and if you're able to man the phones and you're able to get the agreements and you're able to collect all that money, are you guys going to be able to fulfill all those weddings? If you have 6 weddings to shoot in a month or 8 weddings to plan in a month, do you have the manpower to fulfill that? Are you and your crew of 2 or 3 photographers, or you're on your crew of let's say you're a wedding planner and you have 2 coordinators under you? Is that something that you have the capacity to fulfill now? Because if you don't, you're going to end up causing more problems than good. Because let's take a nightmare scenario for wedding photographers. You guys get lots of calls in May and lots of calls in June, and then you guys collect money and you put a bunch of things on the calendar, only to realize 2 days before that you guys are double booked. Now, because double booked, that's when you have, let's say, 2nd of May, and you have 2 weddings for that day or 3 weddings for that day, and you guys are booked out. You've been talking with the bride. The bride knows you. Maybe the bride knows your subs, your subcontractors. Maybe they know you and they know Kunle and they know Rose. Let's say, so they know you, they know Kunle, they know Rose. But because you guys are double booked, you have to call in Ismail. Last minute. Is that something that the bride is going to appreciate? She's been talking with you guys, but then now the wedding day comes, you didn't tell her, and then who is this Ismail fellow? And stuff like that. There's going to be lots of points of attrition if you don't have the capacity to fulfill, assuming that your plans go according to scale, come to fruition. If you have the money and you're able to blitz through with the advertising and everything, do you have the capacity to fulfill? So I think these are the questions that we ought to be asking ourselves before we worry about competing with the big boys and the big girls. So I really think it's okay to just come in wherever you're at and try to make sure that you're fully optimized and you're gaining traction wherever you're at, and then let these things play out over time. So if you're coming in now and you're coming in at 150k or 250k as a wedding photographer, just be humble, be calm with that, and take it from there. Start from there. Make sure that you can fulfill all the weddings that you get. So first of all, make sure that you're going to be able to field all the calls that you have and all the inquiries and sort through and figure out who is serious from who is unserious. You're able to feel from beginning to end. You're not having too much quarrel with your customers, and then you start scaling from there. Because it's only when you can do it real well with 2, 3, 4 clients that you're going to be able to scale it up so that you can efficiently do it at 10 clients a month, 10 weddings a month or 8 weddings a month or however many it is that you guys are going to be doing. So I really think it's okay. You don't have to, from day one, worry about how you're going to compete with the big boys or the big girls. So in the fast-moving consumer goods space, I really think that's how it is. So Dabur, they came into the market today. Dabur is a household name. People see Dabur over the place. I've tried Dabur before. Actually, there, not bad, not bad. But I still like my harsh. I still prefer my harsh close up. So so Dabur, they came in when they came in, and now they're a household name. It took some time, it took some advertising, but I think they are there as a credible alternative. A credible Nigerian local alternative when it comes to the toothpaste, and so it's going to be the same as well. Coming at your 250, just take it easy, work on the fundamentals, and then over time, especially if you're following the tips that we advocate on this podcast with feedback loops and getting data from your clients, you're going to be able to figure out who you should be targeting, what your USP is, and over time you're going to be able to work your way up. You'll be able to go from 250 to 500, 500 to 700, from 700 to 1.2 to whatever it is that you want to charge. So that's my own take. Can you compete with the big brands in terms of pricing? Yes, you absolutely can, but it's going to require a lot in advertising costs because you're trying to make up for time and the relationships that the entrenched players already have. So yes, it can be done, but you have to ask yourself realistically, can you match those advertising costs to become a household name? And most importantly, do you have what it takes to fulfill the capacity and the inventory to fulfill? Because if your plans work out and you don't end up fulfilling, you're going to create more problems for yourself because you're not going to have a bad reputation. People are like, oh, let me try XYZ wedding photography, and like, oh, don't mind those boys. I tried them. This is what happened. This is how they messed up my sister's wedding. This is how they messed up Funke's wedding. This is how they messed up Sadiq's wedding. Blah, 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 blah. And you're just going to get a bad reputation. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. I'm your host, Abuja-based sales and business consultant, Tavishima Ginormous George Ayede. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.